Hi friends, welcome to Painting for Wellness. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Bethany Bennett. I'm the community artist here at Atlantic Center for the Arts. Today we are going to take a visual journey to the Fiji Islands. And did you know that the Fiji Islands are composed of over 300 different islands? So I don't know which particular one this is here, but this is just a reference picture that we're going to use today. And I just love the color of water and the color of the sand and the color in the sky. So this place has always been on my bucket list. And I'd like to take a mental vacation to this particular place. So what we're going to do is gather our supplies and materials. I've got a small canvas. I've got a palette composed of a bunch of different blues, a teal, two different tans, a brown, yellow, white, and then I have an array of paintbrushes, all different sizes. I'm going to use a dry brush technique today, so I'm not going to use any water while I'm painting water. So before we dive in, let's center and our focus and awareness and take a deep breath. So now we can confidently go in and begin our painting. And this is just a reference picture. Don't let it overwhelm you. I'm going to show you how to break it down very easily. It's going to be fun and relaxing. So to begin, I like to kind of put down this horizon line. And I'm going to do that with one of the tan colors, just so I know. And you can put it in the middle of the canvas, or you can put it at a third. You could even put it up here if you wanted to, depending on how much sky you want to show and how much water. So once you do that, you know that this bottom half is going to be the water and the sand, and then up here is going to be the mountains, the bushes, the trees, and then the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the dark blue that's in the sky. And you guys can use whatever variation of blues that you choose. And this sky is actually pretty simple to paint because it's pretty much just one solid blue color, and then you go back in and do the white clouds on top after the blue is dried. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit of a value change by going from a darker blue to a lighter blue at the bottom. And today I feel like using a lot of paint on the canvas, so that's what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll put some white in there. So, and a technique called impasto is when you paint with very thick amounts of paint on your paintbrush. So you can actually kind of see the texture of the paint and the brush strokes. And this is fun to do if you like to use a palette knife also. So there's a couple different ways you can lay down the sky. You can just paint it one solid block of color, or you can kind of mix different blues together and do this kind of like X brush stroke. Or you can lay it on like patches. And I believe it's the darkest up here at the top, so I'm going to use my darkest blue. Put that at the very top. So it kind of shifts from a dark blue to a light blue. And this canvas has an edge, and I always love painting the edges. I feel like if the canvas has an edge, you should paint the whole thing. But that's just my opinion. So you guys can put whatever colors in the sky that you wish. Maybe some of you have actually been to this destination and you have pictures of it yourself. See how I'm just kind of blending it down like that? And you can keep going with that. You can make it as dark as you want at the top, or you can add in the clouds now. Now, if you decide to add in the clouds now, there's no problem with that. It's just gonna mix in with the blue and make it like a lighter blue. So your clouds aren't going to be as bright as they would normally appear if you let the paint dry all the way. So you can go ahead and pop in some little ones if you don't want them to be super prominent and white. Right here. And these will be these little clouds right here in the background. All right, so we'll let that all dry and we'll start going in with the sand. So the cool thing about the sand is that it goes into the water and it's still visible at this point. When you're looking at it, you can still see the sand, and this water is so beautiful and clear that it's kind of like a glaze over the sand. So we're going to put the sand down first. Let's see here. So this part is a little bit more tan. Right here. Kind of disappears off in the distance. And then now I'm using the lighter tan to mix in with that. And then I'm going to add white to that. So you have this, the very lightest color right here. And obviously it's fine if your colors aren't the exact same colors as in the picture. It doesn't matter, we can use whatever colors we want. So we're just gonna have fun, and now we're gonna go in and start putting in some of this blue because we're gonna wait for this to dry a little bit. And so one thing that I love to do is not only use teals straight from the bottle, but create my own teals by adding yellow to different blues and seeing what kind of colors you can come up with. So that's just me adding yellow to a cerulean blue or maybe this dark navy, and then mixing in a little bit of white. And I think one thing that makes water in particular look realistic is when you have all different shades of blues. Same with the sky. So this part is tricky. This is almost white, and it kind of fades into this teal. And if you're painting with oil paints, it would make it a lot easier to do the glazes. Now with acrylics, you'll need a particular type of glaze, unless you do this. So you're gonna take a little bit of white and a little bit of the tan. Now remember, this part is the sand that's been hit by a wave that came in, and it's darker because it's still wet. And then this part is actually underwater. So you're still going to be able to see the sand, but we're going to put a little bit of a teal color over it. So we will blend that into this white tannish color that we've created. So now, take your artistic liberties and go ahead and make these little pieces of kelp, or maybe you want to add some seashells, or maybe a starfish or something. All of these dark spots just going from here and receding into space do create space. So if it matters to you, go ahead and put a little bit of dark brown or something on your brush. You can use dark green if you suppose, but I'm going to go ahead and use a dark brown and just do a couple of little dots down here to kind of show a little seaweed or other forms of life here. So I wonder what scuba diving is like in Fiji. But it's amazing. And I imagine these are just like little shells. Maybe they're hermit crabs, I don't know. All right, so we're gonna let that dry a little bit, and then we're gonna go back in with another blue over top of it. This is almost dry here, but right now, since this part of the canvas is almost dry, we're gonna go in and put some of our clouds in. So I'm gonna use this cute little fan brush and just put white on it, not too much paint, but just enough. And this is the fun part. This is when it doesn't matter what you do. Clouds can be any shape or size. They can be transparent or completely opaque. It doesn't matter. You can't mess this up. You might think you can mess it up, but you can't. So put as many clouds in the sky as you wish. You can make them fluffy. You can make a storm cloud. That would be kind of fun. So you can let that dry and you can go over it again if you really want to make it pop. The thing with acrylic paints is the more layers on it, the more it makes, especially working with this impasto technique where you're really building up the texture on the canvas, it really makes stuff pop. So I'm gonna wait again a minute while that's drying. Now I'm gonna go in and start putting in some of the trees. And this mountain right here. All right. And I forgot to put green on my palette. I have this nice teal, but we'll just make our green, so no biggie. Just yellow and blue. And I'm just gonna go with the shapes. Looks a little more brown over there. Your shape doesn't have to be the exact same either. Maybe you're looking at a different part of the Fiji Islands. Maybe you're looking at an entirely different island altogether. But maybe this is helping you just a little bit. Figure out how to simplify things. So I'm really just blocking in different shapes here. I'm not worrying about the accuracy of it really. Then it gets greener over here. And we can go in with yellow and light whites and put highlights on everything. Interesting. So I really laid this paint on thick down here and it is taking a minute to dry. Maybe that doesn't come all the way down there. So I put the darker greens and darker forest greens and browns down at the bottom because that's where the shadows would be, and then the highlights will be on top. And you don't have to paint any like singular particular tree in particular. You can just leave it kind of abstract like this if you want. I'm just bringing the clouds down a little more so they don't look like they were just painted on. They still exist behind this forest of trees and this mountain. I'm going to put a cloud over here too. Felt like it was necessary. Just to prove that you can put your clouds wherever you want. Okay, so we have all that. This is almost dry. This is interesting. Just gonna blend this a little bit. I think that part is pretty important, is that transition right there from, you know, the sand underneath the water to make that part look like it's actually underwater. And that's the trickiest part, I think. So I'm kind of going over that part again. And then I'm gonna lay a couple more little pieces of seaweed or kelp or whatever this is down here. I was having a busy day today. And now I have gotten my mind straight. Definitely focus on your breathing while you're painting too. Something you can multitask with. So that's almost dry. I'm gonna go in and put a couple of highlights on the trees and top of the mountain. Doesn't really matter where you put the highlights as long as it's at the top and not at the bottom. And I'm gonna do one little kind of like glaze, even though we're not really using a glaze, we're just using a very light coating of paint over this right here. And we're using a teal. So I have this teal, but I've also been mixing a lot of the yellow into it. I'm just putting this last little touch on here. Well, guys, this has been fun taking a little trip together to Fiji. Hopefully you'll join me on our next trip. I know I'm feeling a lot better than I was when I started. If you want to develop these clouds a little more, you can. You could even go in with some dark blues and put them at the bottom of the clouds. Sometimes that creates more dimension. If you wanted to get real wild, you could put a boat in the water, maybe somebody laying out on the beach. There's really so many different things you could do. Like I said, maybe a starfish. Maybe somebody brought their beach chair. It's your turn to just play along and figure out what you like to do as far as painting and having fun. I definitely hope that this helped you relax today. And maybe you learned a thing or two. So, I know I feel so much better than I did when I first started, and I hope that you do as well. So, come back and join us next time we go on another journey. Thank you for joining us for Painting for Wellness. Have a wonderful day.